whilst I'm setting up my laptop, I think it'd be really good if we could go down the line. Maybe starting with yourself, Laura.
Yeah.
Just quickly introduce yourself and where what you do and where you're from, just so everybody gets to meet you.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Laura Ball. I'm the CXAI lead for Zoom across the EMEA region.
Hi everybody, I'm Pat O'Donoghue. I head of sales engineering for the UK and I for Mitel.
Hi everyone, Jason Griffin from Five9. I'm the principal solution consultant there.
Good afternoon guys, I'm Angus. I am the Vice President for Contact Centre for 818. I think you met me.
So introduce yourself again, because I'm just logging on.
Kill some time.
Thank you. Kill some time.
Tell a story, because that'll be extremely dangerous.
Dance, is that right?
You want me to do the kung fu fighting dance? Yeah. Ed Creasey, you ready yet? You are ready.
I'm ready now. That's good. Sorry about that. Right. So Gen AI, we've heard a lot about it, and I think we should consider there's many flavours of AI in the world, right? So whilst the debate is about Gen AI, it'll be also useful to consider how you're using, what your approach to AI is in general. So there's concern and worry about Gen AI and how it can go rogue and the information that it shares. So first of all, the elephant in the room, is Gen AI and AI in general here to take our jobs, right? Scary stuff. So we'll start, ladies first. We'll start with you, Laura.
Yeah, so it's an interesting debate, and one that I was at an event on Tuesday with a futurist, and it was really interesting to hear their view based on data and analysis as to where they think this is going to go. And I think there is going to be change, absolutely, in the job roles and types that we have in contact centre. Is it going to take our jobs? Possibly some roles, but I think there will be an evolution in roles, and I think there'll be roles that we see come into customer experience, into the workplace in general, that we actually don't know about right now. And I think that for me is the bit that we perhaps should change this question to moving forward, because this question's been around for the last 5 years since organisations have truly started to implement AI. And actually it's where can we enhance the roles that we've got, where can we upskill people, and where do we see new roles coming in that organisations can start to think about how that might impact them positively.
Do you know, it's an interesting one for me, because I've seen some recent statistics that's actually indicating the number of roles in contact centres actually increased. So where people are talking about AI and automation and how this is reducing headcount, then potentially that's not the case. So Pat, what are your views on this?
Similar to Laura's really, but from my point of view, I think there's winners and losers here, to be honest with you. I think where you're a CX agent and you're doing a really repetitive role, as an example, I think AI is probably going to take that sort of role over. But where you're actually liaising and working with your customer and having advanced information that AI is giving to you, where you can actually service and fulfill that role better than what you're doing, and the integration to the back office databases where your customers are getting that better service, and AI is enabling that agent to be far more powerful and having information at their fingertips. I think that's where it's going to be. But the repetitive roles that I've spoken about, I think that's going to be the trade-off, where I think services and what you're offering customers as you move forward, I think can get a lot more advanced with AI, and you'll get more competitive. They'll be faster at processing things. But again, I think what I'd say is you have to pace it, and AI is like every technology, it's got to add value. So there's no point just trying to implement something. I would say start small, look where it fits into your business, and look at the quick wins you can gain from that, and then move it forward as you get more experience within your business, how AI can benefit your business.
Thank you. So Jason, one of the things that I know has been talked about in the industry for a long time is the shifting nature of the contact centre agent, right? So do you see that starting to happen? Are you seeing that AI tools are helping to support this change from maybe more of a transactional to a super agent, or whatever we want to call them?
Look, we've done this quite a few times now, and the conversation now is about AI, but we have evolved agents from what they used to be before into doing a lot more. So before it was just voice, and then you brought in chat and email. So no one should ever look at this as being as such a big jump from one thing to another. Everything changes all the time. And I liked what Laura mentioned about the evolution and adding in and changing roles. We went from industrial revolution to a tech revolution. So changes just change and maneuver and kind of evolve from where they were before. And as a superhero fan, myself and anyone who's ever seen a demonstration by me, I use Barry Allen. If anyone in the room knows who Barry Allen is, then well done and welcome to the team. But the super agent is just data. So it's all about how we surface the data back to the user themselves so they can handle that interaction fully at that first interaction resolution. We're going from first call resolution to now first interaction resolution. So we're looking at data, how's it surfaced to them? And now we're taking from static data to dynamic data where generative AI comes into play there. So we're just evolving how things are surfaced and where we're surfacing them from. Instead of taking the static end interaction data, we're taking live data. How did the conversation happen in the IVR? How is it summarized, as Ed was talking about with the bot? But then what's the agent summarization as well? How's that live conversation going and how do we guide the agent live as well? So it's just all about data, making them seem super, but all we're doing is giving them more data and more consumable data than they've seen it ever before.
Okay, thank you. And I mean, I've got so many questions I could go on forever, but certainly from this debate about the shifting work that agents or advisors need to do, how can you see that the technology can actually help to bridge that change and that divide? Because it's not easy, right? You know, if we're creating an environment where our advisors are now having to deal with highly emotive and complex issues as opposed to the transactional, then it's always on, all the time, full on. So, you know, how can we use technology to support that?
It's certainly a challenge, and I think that it does pose an interesting topic, because even if you think of things like Barge Monitor Whisper. So I was, going back from my very early days when I had hair and less wrinkles and more smiles, from a contact center background.
I feel you.
It's a great haircut.
It's never put two ball people together.
So, these lights are not our friends.
No, they're not.
But if you go back to those days, you look at it, you think like being able to hold a live conversation, read a script, look at metrics, and then listen to an agent, a coach in your ear at the same time. That's quite a lot for an agent on the phone to try and manifest and digest and spit out with something which is contextual. Now we're doing it with data and dashboards. So you made a really good point of making it bite-sized and easy to digest. So technology can do that. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at sentiment analysis, you can preempt things like, so you can use AI to preempt if a call is going to resonate in a negative CSAT, or if this call is going in, or agent assistance, where if the call is going to go down a route which you're not particularly comfortable with, that's where you can really make the good use of AI tools to help guide and make things easier. But before that, it's the onboarding and development of agents. So we go back to the original question around, is it going to take people's jobs? Some jobs it will take, but it will take them voluntarily. I don't think the frontline workers are resistant to some of these new technologies. They're actually asking for those to come on board to make their roles easier, so they can invest time in things like empathy, human skills, public speaking, problem solving, the things that sometimes get neglected because they're just doing the mundane tasks. They are the step into the role. So you'll find the contact center frontline workers, they won't be roles which are just a pass through to other parts of the organization. Of course, that will be part of their journey, but the technologies we're going to be implementing will allow them to be that. They'll be fully fledged, respectable careers, because the skill sets required will be no dissimilar to roles which are currently probably 2 or 3 tiers up in their current organization.
Thank you. So, Ed, I mean, you've heard some of the questions, so by all means, feel free to answer those in dispatches. But what are you seeing from an analytics perspective? And consider what we've heard today, that potentially customers' expectations may not be increasing. So we may have a level. Yes, there may be different channels, but the expectation of what good service looks like is it may be stable. But there's a lot of talk about the potential that service is getting worse. What are you seeing through analytics and works with customers, and how much of that is as a result of people being stressed to actually perform the role based on the complexities that they need to deal with?
That's a difficult question.
It wasn't one of the ones
and I
written
prepared
down.
a really good answer to a completely different question. But so I'm going to ignore your question and get my answer. No, to answer your question, I don't think we listen to our agents enough. Is actually the answer.
That's fair.
So we've just done a survey of 500. I've got to stop saying agents, advisors, and when we asked the question, how useful is AI? And can you imagine what it is? I sell AI, and 56% of agents said it's not very useful to AI and automation. Now, if you think about, if we all probably go and visit contact centres and sit by an agent and a team leader and we scribble, isn't a desktop awful? And we don't think we might have sold them some of that desktop. But I think the point is, we've got to think first, I would say, what do agents really want today? And start there. Because actually, what I think they want good work-life balance. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're saying, can you give me more AI? I'm sorry, I totally agree with actually it should be invested in their personal development. Totally agree with that, and onboarding and all of that stuff. It's only one data point, but I'm not surprised that agents are saying, boy, I want more AI.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And I think many of us in the room, if not all of us, would all agree with the sentiments around focus on the customer and start with the customer experience and work back into the technology. So what are your views? What are you seeing around how AI is currently changing customer experience, or thoughts around how it could make a difference to customer experience? And we'll go down the line. We'll give the same question to everyone.
So my view is, I think we're all consumers of organisations, and we all just are very busy. We just want speed, ease and certainty. And we don't want to sit on an IVR call listening to some dodgy Ed Sheeran for 30 minutes while, really...
I like Ed Sheeran.
Okay, maybe you do. Whilst, some disgruntled agent picks up the phone because they've been back to back for the last 4 hours and haven't had a chance to go for a coffee. So I think this is where we can add true value when it comes to implementing AI in customer journeys, to make sure that we as consumers and our customers and our customers' customers are able to just contact us at a time and a place that suits them, and have a response, whether that's an immediate response or an acknowledgement of that, and have that personalised to us. And that use of data, we talk about data all the time. We've got all of this data, but are we actually using that effectively right now in the customer journey? Possibly not. So how do we use that to really personalise that approach? We then drive brand loyalty, because you think, actually, this brand, they know me, they want to help me at a time and a place that suits me. And actually, I'm going to go back to them time and time again, which then drives growth and revenue for your organisation. So I think that it can help the customer journey. I think we need to start being clever about how we utilise the AI and the data in order to do that.
Thank you. Pat?
I think you look at the different media channels that your customers want to contact you. I think you need to actually scope out that journey to take it as stress-free for them as what they can. And whether that's voice, whether it's social media, and you bring in those AI tool sets where you're stopping that repetition and you've got that personalised data, and then you can take that to the next stage where you actually look at that personalised routing experience for that customer as well, and that customer journey. But it's sitting down and doing discovery exercises within your own environment, and then looking at how that journey can be, your customer journey can be actually made that more pleasurable, if that's the right word to use, and more beneficial for them. That actually keeps them tight to you as an organisation. Because if you're not going to be managing the media types that your customers want to be working with you on and how they demand to contact you, they're going to go elsewhere. Yeah, I won't say, but I had a really unpleasant journey with customer journey with Sky the other day, and sitting on in the queue for the best part of 30 minutes, which I wasn't really impressed with, considering I've been with Sky for 21 years. I'm meant to have this branded service from them. So again, it's constantly looking how you can involve on that journey and how you can actually work through with the customer. Treat yourself as a customer sometimes and see what experience they're having with your own technologies. And as I said before, make it have you being the voice of the customer really within your organisation all the time, and see how that's benefiting rather than what's benefiting the business. Sometimes look at the people from the third parties coming in and how what media types are actually working with you and how you can make that beneficial to that customer.
Okay, thank you. So, Jason, same question for you, but maybe I'll add something on top as well. Maybe thinking about different types of customers, segmentation, and that holy grail of hyper personalization.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm surprised has not taken up a lot is mystery shopping. Why don't you just call your own number? So picking on what Pat was mentioning, call your own number and do the customer experience yourself. Be the customer, be in their shoes, see what that looks like and feels like in there, so then you know where to look next. And picking up something, I'm just going to pick from everyone on the panel here. So what Chris kind of mentioned about where you put AI, use AI to kind of understand the journey they're going through as well, so they can analyze what that journey is from start to finish as well. So then it kind of gives you a kind of operational guidance of where you should be looking at within that journey to improve. Are you seeing areas that get higher traffic than others? And I like to think of a customer journey, and I mentioned this earlier to some people upstairs, like a motorway. And each part of the customer journey may have off-ramps within it. So when you talk about that 30-minute wait to that company, I won't mention, then you want off-ramps within there, because there might be people in that queue where the endpoint is an agent, fine, but then there might be people in there who just need to come off for their own personal interaction, i.e. I need to find out this, I need to book that, I need this bit of information, where's my stuff? All that can be off-ramps off of the motorway itself, meaning the people who are still in the motorway are not in a traffic jam trying to get where they need to go to, which to speak to an agent. Now, I am trying to market my own phrase. Cornerstone KPIs is good, right? And I can't rival Cornerstone KPIs, but I like contextual continuation is kind of my one. This is where whatever personally has happened within that IVR, IVA, voice bot, chat bot should be continued when it goes to the agent themselves. I have spoken to a major brand of a bank who is red, if someone wants to work out who that is. I won't mention names like Pat. And what happens is that I say my 16-digit card number in the IVR. I've been given my individual balance because I've been identified, but when I come to the agent, does anyone want to guess what I'm asked the first question is? What's your 16-digit card number? So why is there not contextual continuation of everything I happened with the bot? It's been personalized to me, it's great, but the personalization stops because when it came to the agent, they had not a clue who I was. So we want to make sure that personalization is not just an AI thing. The personalization is from A to B, and the B is the end of the conversation. So agent and AI have to work in harmony, and that's where your two solutions have to come into play. And I'll end on, your AI could be the best AI possible, but it's ruined in a single second where the customer feels like they start again. So you can build it to be the best, but you'll crumble it instantly. So that's where we have to make sure we work together to ensure that the customer journey end to end is the best it can possibly be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think I'll add a bit more on the top for yourself then, Chris. So, thinking about that, AI isn't the end journey, it's not the end state, it's part of the mix. So how do we use people and AI to delight our customers? What are your thoughts on this?
AI really should just be a tool, almost like a utility. So recently I was on a digital transformation panel just before the DTX a few weeks ago. And I was there was a couple of investment companies and banks and a couple of charities on there. And one of the charities was talking about they had a top-down approach to AI. Their leadership team, who are not technologists at all, were like, "What about an AI strategy in there first?" And I was like, "Okay, great. So how's that going for you?" Well, we're start with Gen AI, front of house. I'm like, "Okay, I don't know you, but stop. Like that's the worst thing you should do. Like you should probably start with conversational AI at the front of house, or maybe internal AI first. It was AI for AI's sake." So I'm going to pick on a few things that the guys have said before me already, right? It's the augmentation through AI. You should look at this as another tool, like a utility, like a table stake. It's quite challenging to try and turn it into an immediate ROI conversation, unless you're looking at head cutting. So if you're looking at challenging resources or challenging head count, and you're looking at time on the phone, they're challenging conversations, right? But you look at it as a way which you augment the journey through AI. It's part of the story, not AI for AI's sake. One of the biggest frustrations to Jason's point is that repetition. I had a great experience recently with Apple going through a conversation. It started off with my Apple chatbot, it went through to my iMessage, it continued all the way through, and my iMessage conversation stayed open all day. I did an hour and a half school run, an appointment setting thing I had to do, come back, continue the whole conversation again. in the same iMessage conversation without having to do any more repetition. That's a perfect journey. The conversation took me all day and no resolution, which was crap. But the first part was brilliant, right? In terms of like,
You had to go into a store.
technologist, right? Yeah. Now I'm on Samsung. No, I'm joking. I'm not for all the tea in China. So like that repetition of problem is a massive challenge. The augmentation through AI to supplement the journey is important. So the first thing is how you use the technology is to work out where those pitfalls and linchpins are, and then you use that as a supplementation. It definitely isn't just the answer. And there's so many problems that companies may face when they're looking at where do I want to add something in, and they're trying to push AI in. And I think our space is guilty of it. Yeah. Some of us here probably are guilty of it in some of our messaging, and our competitors are probably the same, where things that have been around for 15, 20 years, it used to be called predictive outcomes. It used to be called machine learning. It used to be just called SQL statements and Q&As. It's now called AI, right? So it's a very confusing marketplace right now where it's been thrown into every conversation. So we've got to be careful about how we use it, how we talk about it. But my closing statement is it's augmentation through AI. It is a way to supplement the end goal, and it's not a replacement for the end goal.
Brilliant, thank you. And we'll get Ed to answer the same thing. I've got plenty more questions. Quick show of hands, who's got some questions for the panel? Because I can either carry on asking questions, or if you've got questions, we'll take them. Okay, so we've got one over there. Okay, sorry, Ed.
What was the question? People in AI.
Yes, and customer experience. So the mix of AI and people.
So I think there's sort of some very distinctive capability on this table, right? People who orchestrate journeys, right? So the first thing I would say is listen to these people, because they know what they're saying is you've got to have journeys that are, contextual. So because it drives me utterly wild when that happens. But then you've got to have a look. You've got to observe. You've got to look. So you've got to look back like a lagging indicator. You should be looking at your customer journeys. And actually, it's not even AI, to be honest. If we look at the work we do with trail finders, yes, it's AI. We transcribe, but we haven't got all the latest and greatest I showed you earlier. We're just saying we've got some good design ideas. As Ross said, we say, okay, we've got a hypothesis about what's going on in our customer journey. Let's test it. Let's learn from it. Let's take action upon it. That's not even the latest and greatest. And I see this again and again. So if you take workforce management, I know you might all fall asleep suddenly because I'm going to talk about workforce management. Jason and I love it, don't we?
Oh yeah.
We're expecting workforce management to have AI-powered forecasting and little bots that tell agents when to get off the phone and that they're stressed and all. But most organisations aren't even using self-scheduling. They're not even letting agents manage their own schedules. So there's the second thing is about let's get some of the basics in. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let's get that in. And everything starts with good design. Think of these examples everyone's given. Someone has designed that customer experience. And I feel like some companies sometimes lose their mind and let's think on a piece of paper this is going to work. Don't forget, get a good design.
Yeah, and I think before we come to you, Jerry, with the question. So I think for me there are lots of different types of AI. So of course the most widely known AI on the planet is probably ChatGPT, right? And generative AI. However, there are risks associated with ChatGPT and Gen AI, and we've looked at Gen AI. We've looked at the impact upon the brand. So there's probably a battle between using AI technologies connected to internal knowledge bases and systems to actually deliver a great controlled brand experience and learning environment without things going rogue. And then there's other applications when Gen AI does fit. So we might end up with a hybrid type model into the future. There's obviously lots of aspects around security and GDPR and potential risks. But Jerry, let's have your question.
Well, just going back to your original point about losing work or losing
Oh,
jobs.
so we've got a microphone for you. Look at that.
Going back to your original question about whether it's going to take jobs and to Ed's point about only 56% not are scared of it, My sense is, doing lots of side-by-sides with customer service people, that they clearly haven't got the memo. And I'm wondering, where does the responsibility lie? You're a technologist, and I get that. You've articulated your story very well. Where does the responsibility lie to help them understand this? Because my sense is they really don't, and you pointed out statistically. How does that message get through to make sure that they go, yeah, this is an opportunity for us to learn more, to have a better life, all of those nice things.
Yep.
I'm just not seeing it.
So we'll go down the panel. I mean, certainly from my perspective, I think this is where discovery is really important. I think it's a case of knowing more about the customer, how they're operating, and where gains can be achieved. I think looking at those scenarios and undertaking pilots and proof of concepts to actually see if it's appropriate is important. And I think, we live in a world where there's a ton of hype, and probably the question almost back to the audience is, what do your leaders think, right? What does the leader of the business think, and do they trust AI? Are they on board with it? So, lots of challenges, and I think, collectively our job is to help educate in a responsible way. But Laura?
Yeah, and if I understood the question, I think it was the agents in particular and helping them get on board with it was the question. So I think you're absolutely right. There's a gap between what perhaps leadership want to implement and use versus what the end user understands. And my background prior to being in a technology firm was actually delivering this technology into financial services, and it wasn't just about the technology, and I think that's critical, and I think that's where us as vendors need to support further, is helping brands understand what is your people strategy around this change that you're going to go through. How are we going to enable them to come along the change curve? How are we going to get them involved in the delivery of the technology so they become then the champions and it just becomes the norm for them? So I think there are different work streams when it comes to the transformation and utilisation of AI in organisations. People absolutely is one of those pillars that is critical, and we have to think of that strategy. What does that people strategy look like alongside technology, alongside all of the other pillars that sit within there?
I've got one more question for the panel. I think so. I shall respectfully ask you. Nobody else to answer that, but I think this is probably why we're also seeing a growth in learning and development as well. So there's a shift in skill set and expectation for frontline agents and what we want them to do. There's also, if you can invest in people to develop them and take them forward and show a forward path, that AI isn't here to replace them and it's a scary new world. Actually, this is about freeing people up to get more fulfillment and value in what they're doing in their roles and their careers, and extend greater value to their business and their customers as well. I think what would be interesting for me, and then we've got follow-on breakout sessions and opportunity for networking in the space upstairs, is maybe we just go along the panel, quick summary. What's your position on AI within the business, and how are you going to be using it moving forward? Roadmap. What's the future look like for AI with your business?
So I think there's absolutely a space for AI in use of customer experience. I think, however, before you utilise AI, we really need to understand what is it that we're trying to achieve? What are the outcomes of your organisations? What is your strategy? What do those customer journeys look like? Map those out and work backwards from there. Because if you just try and use AI for AI's sake, you're never going to implement it successfully. You're never going to get the buy-in of your organisation or your customers. And it's just going to be more of a failure than it is a success. So I think don't look at let's implement AI, look at where do we want to be from a customer experience lens, where do we want to be from an employee lens, and where do we want to be from a business lens, map all of that out, and then work backwards from there as to where AI fits.
Yeah. Thank you. Pat?
From a Mitel perspective, we're looking to bring Gen AI into all our product sets, and we're doing that from our development house and our product house, but particularly in the CX market, we have a CX practice, and somebody who's invested in Mitel technology will work through that practice, and what we will do is look at how that technology fits, all the media types you're looking to support, and then sit down and work with you as an organisation and see how that affects with your people as well as the technology. Because as I alluded to, technology is only as good as the people actually using it, and we need to have that customer journey, work it through, map it all out, and get the, I guess, you guys, the responsibility in your business to get some ownership in that, because it's not all about us as technologists. We need to understand your business and how this how AI can impact your business and how it can be successful for your business. So we work through a consultative program where we'll take you on that journey, if that's the right word to use, to get those correct outcomes you're looking for.
Thank you. Jason?
Sure. One of the things we want to work on is removing the question of, I want AI, and then we ask back, what AI? And they say all of it, which absolutely drives me insane. So what we're looking at is providing an AI blueprint. Now that AI blueprint is what it's going to do is look at all the topics in your conversation. So it kind of takes some of the stuff that Ed has, and we have some overlap here, so don't shout at me, Ed. But we do have some overlap. But what we kind of do is take those topics that are being discussed within all of the conversations you have, but marrying them against operational data. Because what we want to do as part of that blueprint is work out together that architecture plan of where the AI can be used within it. So part of the conversation we've been having, and Chris has mentioned, and Pat's mentioned, and Laura's mentioned, is that where should it be that you have to put in something that automates within the platform itself? So where should it go? Should it go pre-call? Should it go training? Should it go post-call, during call, wherever? And that's where that blueprint kind of puts into place to say, this is the architectural diagram of where you can kind of see the most benefit, because here's their operational data with it. So then it focuses you to put it in the right place to get the right output out the back of it. Look, this is a walking thing. This isn't a running thing. So let's walk together, get to the end point we need to get to. And if we rush, then it will ruin it. So we'll walk together, we'll get there slowly, but it has to have the right blueprint, my marketing term for them, to get us to that point. So that's kind of what we're working on, and those conversations we can have. And come and see me later if you need to know more about it.
So I'd actually echo that it's not an AI wash, right? AI is not going to solve all the ills of the world. So Chris?
So I'll answer it in two phases. So the first phase is what we're doing with it internally. We've invested in digested it internally of how we run our own business. So we're kind of like drinking our own champagne type thing, or eating your own dog food, depending on which side of the house you're on. So we are using it internally without it being customer facing to start with, to speed up and actually learn how we can best adopt and then tell those stories to our customers of how to use that to the best of your abilities in a way which is not as impactful to the customer facing teams, but it's beneficial to the business to speed up how you interact. There's nothing better than that to tell real life use cases. So we're doing that internally first to how we operate. But also we're making our AI story modular. To the guy's point recently, it's not about AI for AI's sake, and we're not even really talking about an AI story in that capacity. We are still continuing to focus on the customer experience, message, journey, problem, use case. If AI solves that, brilliant. We will help you understand where to put it in. But if traditional IVR solves that, then that's what we'll talk about. And actually, if we want to use one of our partners, like Calabrio, for example, or one of our other partners, actually, you just need traditional workforce management to help up how you do scheduling and staff programming, that might be the answer. So we're not looking at it as a case of, a lot of the messaging we're seeing in the marketplace is AI enabled, AI first, contact centers and so forth, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, but we're not forgetting that there is a huge demographic of organizations which are traditional CX platforms, contact center operations that are not quite ready for that movement yet. We have the AI tools there, so we want to focus on what the problems customers are trying to solve, and if AI is the answer, then that's what we'll suggest and try and architect.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Ed.
So I would do two things. I would educate yourself about generative AI by playing around with it.
Yeah.
So the best thing I did, because I run all our demos, is that we've got loads of demo calls and loads of demo transcripts and chats and everything, and it's all either redacted or they're mainly made up contacts. So I can do anything I want with them. No GDPR risk there or PII. So play around with it. Learn how to do it. You can find in the browser a set of prompts that suddenly your brain. I once said, can you give me a set of prompts to do a full customer experience analysis with Gen AI? And this went, and then I got 20,000 contacts, and I just ran through them one by one. That is really worthwhile doing. So educate yourself. is number one. The next thing, yesterday I spent an hour sat with an agent watching them do summarizing contacts, because I was trying to sell contact summarization I showed you earlier. And then I saw some of them are very simple contacts with lots and lots of language, for internal language in there. And I thought, that's interesting, because I wonder if Gen AI will pick up on that nuance, number one. So that means it needs some training. You know, Nicola talked about guardrails, so it means you might need to train it with your industry, your company language. But the second thing was the important thing for an ROI. Normally I'd say, we can save you 50% or something like that, right? I went, you can't on those contacts. So really think, do that side by side before you do design. And Ross talked about it, and Jonathan talked about it. The Britannic are great at this.
Oh, thank you very much, Ed. So I think that probably brings us to the point where we're going to break for lunch. But yeah, what an amazing panel! Great insights. So please show your round of applause and appreciation. So we're going to take lunch. That'll be upstairs, and then 2:00 we'll come back down, and we've got the partner breakouts in here, and then the Britannic breakouts just across the corridor. We'd love to carry the conversations on. I think lots of interesting topics to dig into and explore. So enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you later on.